The interesting place is how powerful and vocal a minority of religious Christians who believe that politics and states should go together have been, especially in the Republican Party. And that has actually everything to do with the way we run our primaries and the way we get to our presidential candidates. Because the fundamentalist parties don't do nearly as well in other national elections. They don't do nearly as well in gubernatorial elections. That is, there aren't a series of fundamentalist Christian governors around the state. There have been some, most notably one from Arkansas who recently ran for president. But the vast majority of religious parties who believe that religion should inform politics, they have their best power or their strongest say in the national presidential election because of the way we get to our presidential candidates, and in small local elections that are kind of beneath the radar of most people. So for a period of time, certainly through the 80s and into the 90s, they were highly successful at electing fundamentalist religious candidates to city councils, to school boards, to other more local elections, because most people just didn't pay enough attention.
If it can be shown that theological principles are what are driving that individual, in other words, truths that can't be discussed without the faith, if it's imposing truths that are only gotten through faith, there's something wrong there. And a seasoned politician would know the difference between a philosophically arrived at principle causing policy to be developed or the faith.
I think is absurd. And he's not the only one doing it. And it's a two-way street now. The politicians, they gravitate to these people. And they accept endorsements, or maybe they will say, no, I don't want him, he's too hateful or something.
Again, first of all, I have no problems with religious universities, right? We have a long tradition of them. The first university in this country was founded as a religious university. So I don't have an issue with religious universities. And I don't have an issue with religious individuals running for office. I have to say that amongst the things that I would politic against them is for people who run to office on religious platforms, right? However, that doesn't mean they shouldn't be allowed to do so, and it doesn't mean that other individuals shouldn't be allowed to vote for them. Again, I'm going to stand by what I said before, that as a nation, the vast majority of Americans defend the separation of church and state. So the fact that in some areas, in some cities, and even some states, it's possible for somebody who wears their religious and faith tradition like a badge of honor, and it serves them well in politics, that's part of the cost of freedom.
Religious ideas can be incorporated into laws so long as they are ideas that are based on empirical facts as opposed to religious truths. The American Bill of Rights states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
I see the separation of church and state such that the state cannot establish a religion, but I think the state, especially the federal government, has an interest in promoting the religiosity or the religious expression of the whole population, as long as those religions aren't Satanism or something that's destructive, let's say a terrorist strain of Christianity or Islam. True religion that develops goodness and virtue.
There are religious holidays that are federal holidays, right? That is why is Christmas a day off work for those who work at the post office, but holy days to Jews or Muslims aren't. So there are a small minority of Americans who believe that that's because God made it that way, and America is an expression of God's will, and America is a Christian country, and that should be the case. But the majority of Americans just don't understand why it's problematic. But when asked about their values, favor a secular government, favor a government that's not Christian. favor a government that doesn't reflect Christian morality as it relates to Christianity, but rather a more general morality.